here's a look at the week's domestic headlines.
For that, we have our Yurian.
Good evening and happy Friday. Let's first take a look at Joseonilbo, which did a series covering some of the challenges Korea needs to tackle to boost the sluggish economy. First, taking a look at this article, which centers around how conglomerates have simply been turning their heads away from the problem. Now, taking a closer look at the graph over here, it shows the amount of capital investment in Korea by conglomerate has fallen over the past 2 years. Now, also companies like Samsung Electronics has been drastically expanding its employment overseas rather than in Korea in the past 3 years, as evident by the lighter colored figure. Now, Hyundai Motor also a similar story with a rise in the employment of foreigners. Now, while doing so, the article indicates that the country's top 10 conglomerates were able to cut down their debt ratio by 10 percentage points from 2009 to 2013. Now, continuing on with the series, the paper cites foreign experts who say the low dividend payments of Korean companies are a major weakness for the domestic economy. Now, dividend payments represent just 1% of the company's share price in Korea. That's the lowest among G20 countries, as can be seen here in the bar graph. Now, the chairman of Rogers Holdings says global investors undervalue Korean stocks because of the low dividend payments, and investment guru Mark Faber says at this rate, the Korean stock market could soon only draw in domestic investors. Now, moving on over to 중앙일보. And taking a look at this story here, it talks about how North Korea-China relations have sunk to a new low. Now, in the bullet points here, the paper talks about how China did not export oil to its traditional ally for 6 straight months. Now, that's shocking given that about 80% of North Korea's oil came from China. Also, high-level talks haven't been held for a year now, and China also lent support to a UN resolution against Pyongyang's recent missile launches. Now, the paper says the strained relations are the result of Chinese President Xi Jinping's global diplomacy. Xi has been placing much importance on the responsibility China now holds in the international community. And the United States acknowledged this during high-level talks earlier this month, the paper says, when State Department spokesperson Jen Psaki pointed out that China has beefed up its sanctions against North Korea. Now, finally, moving on over to Made Business and taking a look at the story here. It talks about how Korea's popular bakery shop, Paris Baguette, is opening a store in Paris. Funny enough, 26 years ago, Paris Baguette was first established as a way to bring French bakery skills here to Korea. Now, after growing into one of Korea's largest food manufacturers, the new store here, seen here in the photo near the Louvre Museum in Paris, is now aiming to woo French customers. Sitting amid thousands of restaurants that have for decades catered to the refined palate of the French, Paris Baguette's 26 years old of success will truly be put to test. Now, with that, I'll wrap up this week's look at some of the eye-catching stories from the Korean papers.